Okay, we've got Todd Gilliam. Todd, thanks so much for giving us some time.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Now, there's an I there, but you pronounce it Gilliam. You still might be related to Terry Gilliam for that reason, but we'll get to that later, right?
I am not that funny.
Fair enough. One of the members of Mighty Python. You are a member, sir,
Absolutely.
of the CX community, right? So
That's right up there with it. Yep.
yeah, you've been doing this for quite some time. So, give us a sense of what you walked into, what the construct was, so that we can kind of make our way to today.
Sure. I arrived at Comcast about a decade ago, and it doesn't take a whole lot of research to see that Comcast was not a well-loved company by its customers a decade ago. The consumerists had us as their worst company in America more than once. JD Power, whatever service you went to, you found us at or near the bottom of the barrel. So about 10 years ago, the company really tried to go after that. You basically, for no better reason sometimes than you're just tired of going to a barbecue and having people come and say, "Oh, you work at Comcast." We have Comcast gear and shirts we give out, and people didn't like to wear those outside the company. After a while, that wears away at your soul. Not to mention getting better customer relationships, better return, better money, better stock price. But it's amazing how much of the motive was really that, we're just tired of being bad at this customer relationship thing. So over the last 5 years, the first 5 years was really focused on just cleaning up the house, getting so we would get a tech out to your house within a 2-hour window versus sometime that day, getting so we'd answer the phone in a reasonable period of time and give you pretty much the same answer the last person would have given you. Getting so we understood and could help you understand what was on your bill, getting so we could get someone out there in a reasonable amount of time to fix your problem. And that was basically the core of the first 5 years of journey. And we made a lot of progress, moved up the board a little bit, got off the worst company in America's list, and transitioned. Now we still have to keep cleaning things up, still lots of work. Transitioned into sort of the second phase, which is, okay, let's find the things that are really irritating our customers and fix those systematically. And that was the center of my life for the previous 5 years. Someone calls in and is going on military deployment, and we're asking them to bring in their equipment. Not a popular thing, for example. By doing an NPS survey, which is about the time we got NPS going, listening to both the customers through that and the internal NPS surveys, you really pretty quickly get a feel for what is it that's bothering the customer, and you start to fix those things. Well, lots of things still to fix, make no mistake. But now we're headed into a new part of our journey, which is we've got the house cleaned up. We've fixed a lot of our egregious sort of, we shouldn't be working that way with customers because that's not who we want to be. And now we're in all right, how do we get the customer experience from kind of standard to have it be part of the product? If you see our product X5 advertised on TV, that's one of the examples of being at the core of it. It's not just, hey, we give you internet service, but we give you, actually the product is X5, which means I get something I can turn off, I can pause, I can see when different devices are in my home, I can turn off different devices. There's an ad with the daughter's boyfriend coming in the home and X5 popping up saying, "Oh, Steven's phone." That's popular in my house because my daughter's new boyfriend name is Steven. So I actually had that happen. "Oh, Steven's phone." But that's an example of getting the customer experience into the product. On my end of the house, which is the operations, that applies too. So traditionally, I've got the product in one hand, and if something goes wrong or my bill, I contact. And these two things, operations and the product, two very separate things traditionally. We're trying to blur that line very heavily. So if you're in your X5 product and you have a question, you're just typing it in or saying it to the same device you're holding, and you're getting the answers back at you. For example, or you're watching TV and you get a blip saying, "Hey, your payments might be a little late," and you click a button and say, "Yeah, make a payment." Or even say that to your remote, "Make a payment." You can do that now. And as we do this, better integrated, what comes to the forefront is for lack of a better word, the chatbot, but more importantly to us, the chatbot and the logic behind it, which we're presenting to customers on their TV, we're presenting to customers in an app, online, or even if they're calling us or texting us, they sometimes will get into that logic that the online people see as chatbot, but the same engine is behind all that. And that's what I'm at the core of now. So that's a little bit of the context and how it leads up to where we are now, which is how do we make this digital interface part of our customer's experience versus, all right, when all else fails, I need to contact somebody, get on this thing and type agent because I just need to talk to somebody. You know, that's our traditional experience that we're trying to get away from.
Letting that customer be in the driver's seat, that all makes sense to me. And it sounds like you're right up to the point where there's machine learning capability, or at least possibility.
Absolutely. So really want to hit on three things. And what you're getting at is kind of the first one, which is, okay, how do you build something and make it useful to the customer? And the other two, by the way, are, all right, how do you make that work with the rest of the company? It's a no mean feat. And then, you know, finally, okay, so you've got an index up and running. It matches the rest of the company's content. How do you actually get to higher states of existence with respect to customer experiences that feel, well, more seamless, feel like part of the product? But going back to the first one, which is how do you make it something people use? Comes down to three things. You know, one, they have to get there. They have to know it's there. And then we'll get into things like, all right, you know, the classic, okay, do you have a search engine that pops up? Here's the phone number to call. What do agents say about it? What do texts say about it when they're at your house? You know, how do you get exposed to this channel as you turn on your product? The second item and the third item is where the machine learning really comes into play, which the second item is, okay, you've got to engage the customer. Or said differently, you have to understand what they're saying. You know, basics of any conversation is if I don't hear what you're saying and I just start talking, we're not conversing, and you, the listener, you forced me, the listener, aren't engaged. So what we're into very heavy now is the natural language processing and the machine learning behind that, trying to understand what it is people are saying. A lot of supervised learning at this stage. Fortunately, we have a sizable team of people that are just going through customer interaction after customer interaction. So we're not making up what it is that customers say or type. But every time we build something new, we're going through that whole process again. And then you've got issues like, well, that used to be directed over here. These salespeople really want that contact over here. Well, on this topic, we should probably send the customer over here. Ooh, who's going to tell the people we just took the contact away from? All right, and working through conflicts like that. And then the third aspect of getting the customer engaged and using the thing is it has to resolve their problem. And yeah, we think we understood what you said, and here's the answer we gave you, or here's the choices of answers we gave you. All right, machine learning pretty quickly tells you for that thing they said, which of the three choices was the most commonly picked. Good, and lets us get the better and better choice in front of you. But now we're getting into starting to look at, okay, what happened for the rest of that session? What happened over the next week? And what really helped fix that customer's problem? And that part of that gets into the challenge of working with the rest of the company, which is if you find out that our answer helps explain this charge to you on your bill, great. We chose it. It fits exactly what you're asking about, but the answer doesn't really cut it. Doesn't really give you everything you need to know. All right, now we're starting to work with the rest of the company to say, all right, what is an answer? The answers we have aren't satisfying these folks. And that's where, again, you could very quickly with that's more machine learning, a little less, more unsupervised learning, very quickly see which answers are helping with the customer, which answers are just falling on deaf ears or causing them to drop out.
And how do you, and maybe this is exactly where you are now, but how do you apply analytics to that information, that, you know, unsupervised or unstructured data to make it speak back to you?
Well, I mean, if we had it solved, I would be partially out of a job to some extent. At first, it was pretty simple. The objective metric was, do they contact us again in the next 7 days? Do they talk to an agent or chat with an agent in the next 7 days? Or in other words, do we keep them in? But that's it's usable, make no mistake. But it's a little bit short-sighted. So we're also trying to get in long-term or longer-term relationship value. And then back to NPS, okay, what do they think of us post that interaction and the company? But if we have these objective measures in place, now we can go through and say, all right, for the person that said, I'm confused about this charge, and we presented them with these 3 answers, and they like the second answer a lot more. That's actually a quick machine learning to say, all right, let's move the second answer first. But we're trying to get to the point is being able to look at all 3, track them down to see, all right, which of these made the biggest difference with the customer. And then all the time we come up with insight, taking it back to that same team of people that's just sitting there listening to calls with agents or reading customer interactions with agents to see what really did happen. That context back to the people on the front end is really makes a difference, and something I think that may set apart folks that do it really well versus folks that put a bunch of technology people in the corner. I guess I'm not a technology person if I refer to them that way. In the corner of a building someplace, hey, go build this thing. The rest of us don't know what it is, but go build it. It'll be really cool. Having the front line, and these at Comcast, it's current frontline agents just pulled off the front line for a little bit, sit there and work through these, gets it to be, well, more real more quickly.
So just to kind of give us some context here, you say you're not a technology person. In some ways that's probably true. In some ways it's probably not true. But you say that you've explained how you've come a long way in that position as far as CX is concerned. Are you surprised that you are where you are in, basically right on the precipice here of really redefining, and in many ways you already have redefined CX? Do you stop and think about how far the organization has come and where you are now?
We think our stuff is great. But we have some backup. It's certainly a frequent discussion of, okay, what is too far? Or do we have to invest more in the customer experience? And we had some breakthroughs recently where after many years of staring at the numbers, we've tried to put a value on, do we make more money if our customers are happier? That basic question there. And you'd say, first reaction is, well, obviously you do. Well, if you're spending more to make them happy, it's less clear. And recently, we're getting much better at understanding just how impactful that is. So the push isn't stopping. We firmly believe there's a lot more shareholder value out there by having a better customer relationship. Even though we're decent now, middle of the road in JD Power generally, although we did have one region pop up #1 this year for internet service, which was exciting for us. But given the math we've seen, where the investment level in customer experience is increasing, and we're pushing for changes in how we do business that really weren't even on the table before. And that's also why you hear about this much investment in, say, having you be able to say to your remote control for your TV, pay my bill. Okay, the people that deliver your video product, hooked up TV, not high on their list to have you pay their bill. They want to get you a really cool video. They want to get you watching Game of Thrones and be excited about it. But the wider company is seeing, wow, that actually makes a difference in terms of that person's likelihood to be watching Game of Thrones if it comes around next season. It won't, it's canceled, but you know what I mean.
Well, just a small, I don't think it's called canceled. I think that they finished his way.
It ran its course. The wrong guy won. We know how it went. We're disappointed, but hey.
Your point being, winter is not coming again, right?
At least for 10 years until they get up the money and energy to take another run at it.
I'm sure there's a prequel, series coming our way. And that might actually be the case. And, we're all excited, of course. And we're all excited for your session at CX for Telecoms, our digital event right there on cxnetwork.com. So folks that are listening to this now and want to hear more from you, please go to register at cxnetwork.com.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be presenting, and I wish I had all the answers, but I know a lot of the questions.
That's the first. Knowing the questions is the first battle. As any scientist will tell you, you got to have the hypothesis in order to run the study, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Thanks so much. We'll check in with you down the line.
Perfect. Thanks.